permiso, buenas tardes. Hello, David, are you there? Can you hear me?
Oh, I'm not here. I am not here. Good morning, my friend. How are you? Good morning, everybody.
I was missing your sense of humor, my friend. Thanks for being here again, my friend.
I was here early, but at 2 minutes to 10, my computer decided it said, time to do maintenance. So it went through, turned off and restarted, so I had to open everything. And so, yeah, a bit of a problem. Good morning, everybody, and happy Father's Day to anybody who's a father today.
Yes, I think so, everybody. Almost here, we're fathers, man. We usually. So I was texting that you were coming with us in some minutes, no? So
well, I have a message for you from Claudia, my wife. She says, Andres, I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. It's Father's Day. But that's okay. I said that's all right.
No. Claudia will be here, is part of this webinar, so she will be here as a special guest to David. You know, you're kidding in that way. Okay, dear professors, colleagues, we have the presence of Mr. David White, so we can start now. But before we start, let me announce and introduce him a little bit about.
Can I share my screen quickly, Andres? Give me permission to share my screen.
Yes,
so I can get
of course.
Up, please.
Yes, David, you can allow the screen and send your stuff. Okay. Okay, dear professors, today we have something related to listening. This is the topic that Mr. David White is going to share with us. So teachers, colleagues, put in particular attention all the experience we have in order to exchange information. You can participate actively. I'd rather to mute you while Mr. David is exposing and presenting the topic. So at the end you can ask questions, or during the lecture you can write your questions in the chat box. No problem. Anyway, all right. So I can read in case you have any question to Mr. David White, and we can respond immediately. In order to make it more productive. Thank you very much, and we're going to start right now. Thank you, David, one more time for being here, and it's your turn. You can start, my friend.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor once again to be here with everybody. It's always a pleasure to be here with you, Andres. So, and when you asked me to do about listening, I thought that was an interesting subject because a lot of people don't like to discuss listening, especially during online classes. Listening's become one of those very important skills that some teachers who I've spoken to are a little bit nervous about tackling. Rather happy to do the minimum, the activities in their books, or maybe a bit of music or something, because they feel that they don't know whether they're connecting with their students in the online classes. For me, in my position, of course, as a director of a institute and director of a school, I have to look at education a little bit different. I have to look at how to connect with students, whether they're from 3 years old. You know, my youngest students are 3 years old, and my oldest are set in their 70s. So I have to look at a wide variety of activities to be able to reach everybody effectively. And of course, as a teacher myself, I teach international exams. I prepare people, I teach teachers, and I prepare people to study in other countries. And listening is of course, one of the equally four important skills that we need if we're going to have success in the language. So during this period of online classes, we cannot afford to avoid it. Here in Peru, we're in our second year of online classes. We've had 15 months now. Everything is legally closed. So we can't afford to neglect any skills. One of the problems a lot of teachers I've spoken to have had during this period is their ability to actually reach their students. Of course, we're not classically taught to teach online. It's something we've had to develop since online classes started. And of course, not all students react well to online classes as well as other students. So, and for some teachers, it can be disheartening when you don't get a good response from your teachers, from your students. So, for us to be able to achieve what we need to do to teach our students English effectively, it comes down to us understanding the demographics of our job. We need to understand our students, who they are. We need to understand their likes and their dislikes, but also we need to take into consideration at the moment the students' demographics. We have students who have lost family members to COVID, or friends. We have families who have separated, had family problems, maybe familiar violence. There could be anger or sadness in the house, things like this. So it's very important that we take many, many different things into consideration when we're planning activities. But also, to reach our students, we need to understand what they like, because students will participate more in activities they like than activities which they're forced to do. So I like to ask students things like, what is your favorite song? And create activities. Give students, you might choose for a class 4 songs or 2 songs a month, and you create activities around that. You can do things where the students talk to each other, what they did on weekends, because speaking in online classes, as in a regular class, speaking, of course, is a listening activity. One student speaks, the other students listen. Some teachers find it difficult to differentiate between speaking and listening, but they are an interlinked skill, especially in online classes. Ask students things like, what is your favorite movie? You can search YouTube and look for trailers, the little short 2-minute videos, and create activities. What are your hobbies? Something that they can present about. Or what is your favorite book? If you've got very small children, if you're
This meeting is being recorded.
Thank you. If you're if you're teaching very young children in kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade, 4th grade, you can ask the kids what is their favorite book in the children's genre. And you can make a story time activity out of that where you read and listen. But it really comes down to engaging your students in the class, making them part of the planning process within the ability to fit into the curriculum that you're supposed to teach. Okay. The other thing, of course, and this relates to the previous slide, is that we've got to keep our students engaged. When we're in the physical class, it's easy. We walk around, and when we have a student who's not paying attention or they're daydreaming, then we can go straight to their desk and we can connect with that child and resolve the problem. But when we're in the virtual class, we can't always see our students. Many of them have their cameras turned off. So we've got to make sure that we have activities which are engaging, that are fun, the kids want to participate in. It's almost impossible to get 100% of our students actively participating, but to get the majority equals sometimes the best success that we can achieve. So it's very important that we are dynamic, we are interesting, that the kids want to be part of our class. English is an unusual subject because we have, in some ways, as teachers, the most stress, but also the most support. If you're a history teacher, geography, arts, communications, whatever, you don't have a lot of workshops like we do, like we're doing today. You don't get a lot of support from book companies or distributors. You don't get workshops on methodology. So for us, we have enormous support as teachers where we get together and share, but at the same time, enormous pressure to produce and achieve. So, but that gives us skills for engaging students, and we need to use these skills and to use what we learn in presentations like you're having today, to use those skills to engage. All right. Now, I want to give you a couple of tips first before we start on the activities. Where possible, try to get your students to keep their cameras on, all right, because we need to know if we're engaging with students. If the camera's on and the student's not sitting at their chair, then you know that they're not paying attention, and that happens a lot with school kids. But when they're sitting there and they're listening, they've got their hands on their desk and they're paying attention, and you know that you're achieving something. If all of the cameras are turned off, then you don't know if you're being effective or if you're just talking to yourself. So get the kids to keep their cameras on. I make it a rule, actually, to have cameras on. Wear headphones. Try to get the kids to wear headphones or earpieces. The reason being is because in their home they have a lot of distractions. There's mum cooking their favourite lunch, there's grandma, there's somebody watching football, whatever. And all these sorts of distractions take away from the student's ability to concentrate. So it's very, very important, if they can wear headphones or earpieces, it helps them to be able to concentrate better, to actually focus on the class, on the screen of their laptop or their tablet, rather than listening to what's going on in the world around them. And this is very important for listening, because a child's mind, like an adult's mind, we can be concentrating on something. But if something else happens near us, our concentration shifts. And when we're asking students to listen for details, it's very difficult. So, headphones. Ask the students questions. This is very important. We've got to engage our students. You've got to make sure that they are an active part of the class. Let your students know that you're going to call upon them, and have something like one of these spinning wheels, or there are many different websites or PowerPoint slides you can use, which allow you to randomly choose students, okay? This way you're not accused of giving favourable treatment to certain students or picking on other students. The wheel will randomly choose students. and ask a lot of comprehension questions as you go through the class. This will always help you to maintain that engagement with your students. And keep the lessons active. Let the students do a lot of the talking. Personally, I do reading as a way of engaging with the students. The students like to have classes with the headmaster. So I have classes with kids from 3 years old to 4th grade. Every week I read to them because I like to see what's happening in the class, see how the kids are, maintain contact, and also have an honest faith in reading, because reading is a listening activity. But when sometimes the kids will talk a lot, and I, in between the reading, and I allow that as long as there's a certain amount of English, because at the moment it's a rather a big psychological benefit for the kids to be able to talk, and it maintains their enthusiasm level. Ask them questions, ask them to restate things that we've done, ask them for interpretations. What do you think that means? Encourage them to present, encourage them to do feedback, give their opinions, and also try to work out some sort of gestures that you can use that helps to control the class during these moments. Very important. And something I like to do, and this works out very well, it shows your students that they must produce, okay, is to give a Kahoot, or something like a Kahoot, to verify what they've learned that day. I like to send it out to students with, say, 5 to 10 short questions about what happened that day in class, and for them to verify that they paid attention. It's not a test as such, but it's a test to see if they paid attention. They know that in my class they will be tested, and so they do pay attention because of that fact. So this is not a Kahoot activity in the normal sense where you'll ask 5 questions about a specific reading activity. This is about what generally happens in the class. It's to say, did you pay attention in class today? Were you listening? All right, that's just the general things I do during the classes. But I want to talk now about listening activities. Some people think listening is difficult. It's difficult to organize. Some teachers find it easy. Some teachers find it difficult and do just the minimum because they find it hard to verify with students. They tell me things like, kids are sharing their answers in WhatsApp chat groups. They're not really listening. One student listens, shares the answers with their friends. Well, I don't worry about that because I can't control it. I create activities where I try to get people to be able to do it and control it as best I can. One thing I like to do is storytelling. I read, like I said, I read to the kids from 3 years old to 4th grade. Because storytelling, reading out aloud, is a listening activity. One person listens, one person speaks, everybody listens, and then at some stage there is a comprehension activity. And for me, reading is wonderful because of the fact that you're creating a story, and a lot of students like to listen to stories. They like to participate in stories, especially younger students. And adults like to too. The hardest group for reading is teenagers, of course. They find it difficult for many things. But let me show you, when the school was open, our school, I would read to the younger groups in this year and first and second grades in the library of the school. And sometimes I'd have a teacher dress up in the theme, like dress up as a frog or something. Now, if you have a look at the faces on these kids in this picture, they were 5 years old in this picture. And you can see that they're smiling. Now, they have a limited knowledge of English. It's read to them in English, and they're enjoying it. Yes.
Mr. White, your microphone was off.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, reading stories to kids is always a lot of fun as long as you animate them and make them fun. It is a great listening activity. During before the pandemic, I used to read in the library to kids, but now during the pandemic, I read online. I have arranged about 200 books in PDF for all the different levels, and we do things. This particular book, for example, is Don Quixote, and we start activities, for example, with pronunciation. When you know your students, you know the words that they have trouble pronouncing, then you choose words from the particular chapter and you pronounce them first and get the students to repeat. So they listen, repeat, listen, repeat, listen, repeat. So this is a good sort of a listening activity to start reading with. When we read, I have all the books in PDF, and then I have the students read section by section. I prepare the sections in advance, and the students read. And the students listen to themselves reading. It's not always about the teacher doing the listening, it's about the students reading and the students listening. And then these activities are followed up with a Kahoot or some other sort of activity where we verify their listening. They're listening for details. It's very important that the students know that you're going to verify their participation through some sort of an activity. It helps them to know that they're going to be graded upon what you're doing in the class. Another thing, for example, during the pandemic, as the director of the school, as the headmaster, I had many parents talking to me about issues that they were having with their children. Not paying attention, not getting out of bed, not following routine, being disrespectful, things like this. So I created a character to get certain messages across to the students. And this character was called Healthy Helen. All right, and it's just made with clip art. I do all the work myself. For example, I actually wrote a series of books. So far, I've written 16 books in a year, where Healthy Helen is the person who's getting the message across. And this is a listening activity, and it works. For example, I've written books, Mummy, Where Do Vegetables Come From? Because we have kids having problems eating correctly. They were eating junk food. So we tried to make fruit and vegetables more interesting for the kids. Healthy Helen adopts some new pets. During the pandemic, many parents have adopted a pet for their children, but the parents were having problems because the kids wouldn't look after their pets. So I wrote a book, Healthy Helen Adopts Some New Pets. And in the book, the kids listened to how to look after a pet. Another one was Healthy Helen's Science Project, School Science Project, where I have 3 different books on this where we grow different things. So this is a kinesthetic activity where the students will get recycle a Coca-Cola bottle and grow different sorts of fruits or vegetables in a bottle. And they've got to listen to the instructions. Then we had one where Healthy Helen feeds the world, and she takes the fruit or the vegetables that we grow, and then she feeds the world with them, metaphorically. Mummy and Daddy, what is responsibility? So through a story and reading time, we're teaching responsibility. Make your bed, clean your teeth, help Mummy with the putting away your clothes, help Mummy in the kitchen, look after your pets, pick up your towel, things like this, because the parents were saying, I can't get the kids organized. They're out of routine. So we talk more about routines and responsibilities. We set up daily routines with kids through reading time. So the kids would have this central character, Healthy Helen, to concentrate on, and through the books and through reading time, they would hear how she would run her life, because in the book, she is also living her life in quarantine, studying online. And they would learn about getting up at a certain time, putting on a school uniform, having breakfast, blah, 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 being in class 5 minutes early, things like this. About eating healthy, we had different books on how to eat properly, such as this one has a healthy breakfast, because a lot of kids eat a lot of sugary treats during the quarantine. Parents are giving their kids sugar as a sort of as a reward because they weren't able to go out with their friends. So we taught kids that eating healthy was fun, and they would pay attention to this thing. And also, Healthy Helen needs a new basketball. We taught the kids that not everything in life is free, that you can't expect your parents to give you everything for free. So in this book, she had to do chores around the house where she earned a little bit of money, and then ultimately that money bought her a new basketball. So all of these things were sending messages to the kids through reading scheme, and which of course is reading and listening. But we celebrated traditions like Halloween. Helen saved Christmas. She became Father Christmas's helper and saved Christmas, and many other things. Also, we turned the books into physical activities. If you have a look here, in this particular shop, we're growing avocado trees. Okay, we grew avocados, lucuma, beans, different things like this. So the kids would do these different things, make videos, and ultimately we would have plants. For example, in these pictures on the left is an avocado tree, and on the right is a lucuma tree. We would have the kids make videos of their morning routine. We would make the kids make videos of them helping their mothers to cook, to show them that they would learn through listening and reading. They learned to resolve the problems that the parents were having, and then we verified that by having fun activities with their parents and then them videoing them. The videos went to YouTube, or sometimes we put them on TikTok to make it fun for the kids. So the kids learned that having a routine, following the responsibilities, helping their parents, looking after their pets, was something they could do that was fun, rather than something that was boring. Because they they wanted to do it with Healthy Helen. They wanted Healthy Helen to be part of their life. And we made a doll for my books. So I've got I think 15 or 16 books now, and we have a doll, Healthy Helen doll, which was made, and she becomes part of the activity. So the last 15 months, from a listening and reading point of view, we've used that as a way to teach kids valuable lessons. And it's expanded from being one story into a series of books now. Each book has about 20 to 80 pages, depends on the book. And it even has a doll, a character. So it's become something in our school which has been a fun way of teaching listening, and using listening as a way to teach the students important lessons that make their parents happier. Because when the kids are doing things and the parents are happier, there's less stress in the family. We also, for example, we would dress up. That's pictures of me. We would dress up we would make costumes. If we had characters in our books, we would dress up like the characters, so that was a little bit more fun. And we would sometimes do artistic work, and we would give all the instructions in English. So we're doing something creative, but it's listening in English, no Spanish. We would do every reading is followed up with something like a Kahoot or a different sort of activity online. Every class has comprehension verification, and students receive certificates of achievement to show them that we're proud of them. You need to show kids, whether they're in the physical classroom or the virtual classroom, that you appreciate what they're doing. Kids like reward, they like positive reinforcement. Normally in the classroom, you give them a hug or a pat on the shoulder. We give them certificates, and the kids take pictures of their certificates. They put them on their bedroom walls, things like that. And it shows that their hard work and their concentration is appreciated. Right, let's get some more general activities. Because listening is so much fun, we've got to make it creative and fun for the kids. It doesn't have to be just an audio and a book and 5 questions. Reading is a fun way. If you use your imagination, you can expand reading. I like to use cartoons. This is a cartoon strip called Top Cat. I used to watch this when I used to read this and watch the television show when I was a small kid. And you can find these comic strips on Google. Okay, now, in this particular one, for example, this is a listening activity. You can get the comic strip, and you can white out the words, remove the words, and then the teacher reads the comic over and over, and have the kids write in the dialect. So they've got to read and write in the dialect, and then to enjoy it, because the kids love the comics. Also, you can choose 1 or 2 characters for your classes. For example, I use 1 male cartoon character, 1 female cartoon character. So the kids love when we have cartoon reading or cartoon listening, because they can relate to the character. For example, the Avengers. The kids love Avengers, and as most people know, the Avengers started as cartoon books, comic books. So you can find Avengers comics in Google for free, and you can use those, and that's very interesting for the boys. But you can also find Barbie cartoons, which are a lot of fun for the girls, and you can alternate one activity with Barbie, one activity with the Avengers. And the kids love to listen and write in the words. Sometimes what I also do is I'll rearrange the pictures. So as their listening skills develop, or for the kids who are a little bit older, first of all, they listen and they have to put the cartoons back into the original order and then fill in the bubbles. So that kind of doubles the skill that they have to double the listening. Another one I like to do is I'll put, say, 6 pictures from similar pictures. These ones, for example, are bedrooms. And you'll read out something, tell me which bedroom has a piece of furniture that has 2 doors and 4 drawers. And they'll say, picture number 2. Or, this morning when I got out of bed, I forgot to put on my slippers. They are still at the side of my bed. Which bedroom is mine? And they'll say, bedroom number 5. Now, this is very good for listening to very specific details. Where are my slippers? Where are my books? Etc., etc. Where is my football? This is a great activity because the kids have to actually pay great attention. Sometimes you can do this with a worksheet. For example, they have a worksheet and you'll read out 10 questions and they have to answer them and send them back immediately so that you know that they're not swapping answers. Another one I like to do is to choose a full comic strip like this. This is Blondie and Dagwood, another very old comic strip, and get the kids to write a dialect and then get the kids to read it to the class. And the students also develop their own comprehension activities, sometimes in Kahoot or something. So the kids will write the comic. I supply the blank comic. They write, they create a Kahoot. Then they take it in turns of reading to their friends and then answering the Kahoot. So the kids get to listen to each other. They get to use their creativity, they get to write, they get to speak, they get to listen, and they get to do a Kahoot. That's a lot of fun. It's a very fun activity. In my opinion, this is an interesting activity. You put students into, you get all the students to prepare a 1-minute presentation about something. And then you put the students into the little rooms, okay, which you film. You put them into pairs. So what happens is one student will read her presentation out to her friend, or his friend. And the friend has to think of 3 questions. Okay? So the student will read, then the second student will think of 3 questions to ask the first student. Then the first student they will swap positions. The second student will read, the first student will create 3 questions and ask the second student. This is great. They're thinking, they're writing, they're speaking, but most of all they're listening, they're comprehending. And it's important because they're doing it about a subject that they choose, or in their own words. Listen and draw. This is always a good one. You can choose a picture and you read out the description and you get the students to draw their interpretation and see how it differs from the original. For example, I have a blog. My students when they send me work, I convert the work into photographs, I put it on a blog, I send the link to the students, and they're able to compare each other's work after class. But what you do is you do something like, I want you to draw a large square, and on the square is a triangle, like a roof. We're drawing a house. There are two small squares inside of the big square, one to the left, one to the right. And between the windows, between those two squares, is a rectangle, just like a door. To the right-hand side of the house is a large tree as tall as the house. And in the garden, there are 4 children playing, 2 boys, 2 girls. Now you keep repeating that, and you see how the kids listen and interpret your instructions and see what their drawings look like. You get them to color them, decorate them, send them to you. I upload them to my blog, and the students can go there and compare how they look to the original, because the first picture is the original that I designed, or the original that I used from Google. And they can see how they listen. It's a very good way of gauging their comprehension. Most students get it very close. Some students are miles off, but it's a very good way of determining their comprehension skills. Where are we? This is a classic game, which we do. I think all teachers do this. It's very common in a lot of books, but I like to expand it a bit. I make a slightly bigger, more detailed sort of a drawing, and us students, you know, I go down the street to the roundabout, the overload, I turn to my right. Tell me, where do I go if I want to eat spaghetti? And they have to tell me where to go. Where do I go if I need to catch a bus because I want to go to the mountains? Where do I go? Da da da. I either give them the instructions and they tell me where we are, or I ask them to tell me where do we go. It's a very simple sort of an activity. Many teachers do it, but it's a good comprehension. Simon Says. I mean, this is a classic old story. In front of the camera, we can do the normal sit up, turn around in the circle, jump up and down, clap your hands, wriggle your fingers, etc. But if you want to make the game a little bit more fun and interactive during online classes, you can do things like get me something red from the kitchen, get your toothbrush and clean your teeth on camera, get your pet and show it to your friends, get your favorite t-shirt, or get your pillow from your bedroom. So the kids are sitting in front of their computer, and then they run to their bedroom, they run to the kitchen. This is good because it's listening comprehension, number one. Number two, we're making the kids physically move, have fun. It's a fun mental activity, but a fun physical activity, because physical activity is very important for the kids during this time. So you can use listening comprehension as a physical activity to make them move. I spy. For example, this picture. I spy something that starts with W. So they'll say watermelon, and then they have to count. Da, 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 da. There are 6. I spy something that starts with O. Orange, and they have to count and write in the amount. Or I spy something I see where kids travel to school, whatever, and they'll say school bus, whatever. food. You can use food, or sometimes I use a complex picture. I spy something that give details and a color, and they have to look at the picture and look for the detail. This last activity with a picture is excellent because they have to really concentrate. It's very good for a deeper level of comprehension, of paying attention. Music, of course. Everybody loves music, whether we're doing filling in the gaps, rearranging sentences, music for special events, listen and write, practicing grammar, learning context, vocabulary, listen and draw. Music is great. I like to ask the students, what is your favorite song? And the ones which are suitable for them to listen to, because a lot of music is not suitable for class. It's either too fast or the lyrics are not good. Choose the ones that the kids like, which are suitable for listening, and do a variety of activities. Doing a listening activity once a week, whether it's for 5 or 10 minutes, it makes the English teacher fun, and they will always pay attention to music. It's a great listening comprehension activity. Something also that's important is to get positivity into the class. It's very important at the moment because seriously, a lot of kids are suffering mentally. There's a lot of problems in homes. Kids themselves are suffering from depression, loneliness, from being disconnected from their normal life. There's been stories of kids who want to commit suicide. There's all different sorts of things. So we've got to inject positivity into the class. It's a very important tool of reinforcement. We've got to set the mood in the class because we are the leader of the class. You've got to give positive reinforcement, virtual high fives. I'm so happy to be your teacher. I am so proud of you. I love teaching you guys. You're the best. Your projects were amazing. That deserves bonus points. Positive reinforcement. This is very important because when I've found that during these times, positive reinforcement is like an addicted drug for a lot of kids. It's something they desperately need if they're having negativity in their life. So this is a great tool for teachers to use. The other thing, of course, is there is a lot of online games. I have a blog that's the connection to the link to my blog. You go and you search blogger, the English teacher's voice. There's more than 150 articles and different sorts of things. My blog has a lot of material which I use for my students. I actually blog a lot of my materials to share with other teachers. So a lot of the times when I actually prepare something, I share it. So I use it myself, or we use it in our institute or the school, and then I share it with other teachers. So you can, here's this particular one, for example, is 2 stories which are about online games which can be used in class. They're very good. The other thing, because we're running out of time, is teamwork. This is a time, more than any other time, I think, where we've got to, if we're part of a school or an institute or a university, we've got to stay in contact with our peers. And we've got to help them and help each other, learn from each other. Something that's been, another teacher has tried, that's been good for them, could be something that you could try and be good for you. Because a lot of teachers adapt the existing activities or even create new sort of activities which can help each other. The other thing, of course, is sometimes we work with older people as well. And they find the transition or just even being in the virtual world very difficult, very stressful, very confusing. It's helpful that we support each other, okay, because to share ideas, to give support when they're having problems is very important for us all to work together. Because if the younger teachers help the older teachers when they have problems, the older teachers will share ideas with the younger teachers. It's sort of everybody helping each other. So that's my presentation. Now, I covered a lot of information today. This presentation and all of the ideas are in my blog, because a lot of people often ask me, can I have the presentation? So all the ideas which I presented today are in my blog. That's the name of it at the top of the screen. So I invite everybody to go there and to, you can sit there, take your time, read, take notes, and you know, have a bit of an opportunity to inject something into your classes. All right, that's me for today, my friend. Andres, are you there? Oh my God, Andres has dropped dead. Have you dropped dead, Andres? You're not there. Hello?
Andres, you don't have a microphone on?
Okay, hello. Yes, I'm here now. Thank you. Okay, I was reading the comments, okay, from some teachers, and they feel so satisfied about your presentation, David. I don't know if I have some questions, okay? Teachers, this is the time for asking or sharing something.
Yeah, I covered a lot of points today, but like I said, they're all in my blog, so I find it easier that way. That normally after a presentation, people go to the blog and they read and take notes. It's a lot easier to do it that way than trying to take quick notes while you're listening. But any questions?
Yes, Amelie Goodini, well, she says, thank you for all the tips. Okay, it's lovely. Miriam says, thank you. I would say, David, the teachers can follow you and they can also read your online blogs in Facebook, I think. Yeah, I guess
yes,
so.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of people follow my blog, but my blog, I have people ask for tips. I produce the tips and then I share it through Facebook normally. That way it spreads. Yeah, to help as many people as possible. I found it as a very good tool when I can't physically travel. You know, as Andres knows, Andres has attended a few of my presentations over the years, physical presentations, but at the moment we're not, and we have to look at different ways of sharing and you know, helping each other. I find these sorts of Zoom meetings, but also my blog, because my blog has always normally or previously been to help my teachers in my institutes. So now I use it for helping them.
Yes, exactly, David. So, well, teachers, so I hope you can enjoy, and the most important is that you take the most significant and learn from this presentation. So we already can know some techniques, some activities, but it's very important that we can try to implement and put in practice in our synchronic or asynchronous classes with our students, and also for some teachers that they work in secondary, high schools, and also in institutes or universities. They one recurrent question is that how can I do it to adapt? You need to adapt, no? You can adapt some of these activities, no? I think that
Look, you can adapt an activity which I use in kindergarten. I've adapted activities I've used in kindergarten for students who are preparing for TOEFL. You've just got to know your students and be a bit creative. The secret is to really care about what you do and to say how I make this something important. You know, because as a teacher myself, the majority of my students are either English teachers or they're preparing to study in other countries, and they could be teenagers or young professionals, and they need to be interested too. They need to be motivated. The hardest students to motivate is teenagers, of course. The whole idea of engaging students, understanding your students, creating activities specifically for your students are important, because you know, in these workshops we talk about the student all the time, but from a teacher's point of view, if we feel that we don't reach our students, if we feel that we're not achieving anything, then we believe that we're wasting our time and we're not performing properly. But when we do something, and our students give us positive feedback, it's like power to us. You know, I mean, we feel like we're achieving something that motivates us. So when we put our creativity into teaching our students successfully, their success comes back and feeds our motivation. And that motivation that feeds to us, it makes us want more of it. That feeling becomes addictive for a teacher during online classes. Because for many of us, we feel disconnected from the world. When our students connect with us positively, it's a wonderful feeling, and it gives us that enormous motivation to want to do more and be better.
Okay, thank you so much, my friend, for giving us a piece of advice in order to use these strategies in your classes. Okay. Well, teachers, I was sharing with you in the chat. Okay, Google form. This is for the registration process, and you will receive your issue certificate for this webinar. So please make sure you fill in. You can complete it now, or if possible, you can complete it for some minutes. Now, so the Google form will not close immediately, so you have time. But make sure you complete it, okay, in order to receive your digital certificate. So thank you so much for teachers for coming, and I hope you have an excellent and forgettable Father's Day. And for you too, my friend David, no? So you have a daughter, no?
I'm having a wonderful Father's Day, actually. I started this morning with caldo de cabeza, right? A great favorite here in Peru. One of the parents in the school had it delivered to me for breakfast. Caldo de cabeza. Very happy. And then I got another surprise being delivered for lunch from another family, from the school. So I'm very happy, actually.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a great day with my family and eat and talk. And I hope everybody else has a great Father's Day too.
David, I was forgetting to read a question in the chat, so Manu reads.
Okay.
He says that he's asking about, let me read, no? The question is, if I created different language activities, teaching literature, okay, for higher grade, how can do it? How can we do it? He said.
Literature is a whole different sorts of things. It depends who you're teaching it to, whether it's secondary students or I've taught literature and academic writing in universities. I actually taught in the University of Guayaquil as well. I did a 6-month course there. It depends on your students. Once again, know your students, know their level. A lot of my students are English teachers, so I push the hell out of them. I mean, I go into minute details of comprehension, and production. They demand details. High school students or institute students, you've got to be a little bit more general, but go into details. Force them. If you're teaching students, for example, preparing them for TOEFL or something, use a variety of subjects that interest them. Give them a list, whether it's geography, history, whatever, the subjects that belong in tests like TOEFL or IELTS. Ask them to choose, and then, so that the subjects they're reading are interesting to them. But then try to have very in-depth questions. Try not to have too many worksheets if you're trying to do general comprehension. Hit some Kahoots or different sorts of worksheets like that, websites like that. I'm using a lot of Kahoots in my C1 and C2 classes for comprehension. I will set a limit. For example, I'll give them an activity with a 2,000 word academic reading, 2,000 words, with say 30 questions in a Kahoot, and I will give them 45 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever. And they've got to read like hell and then open their Kahoot with the link and answer the questions, and each question is timed. It puts them under the stress to perform, and I use this as graded activities. Ask them to read and then give a presentation. For example, you can have one reading with 4 or 5 different perspectives, and then give each student a different perspective for a presentation to improve their skill of comprehension. That is a whole different, I mean, I could talk for ages on that, really, because that's a very academic sort of a reading. I really, as a teacher, I push my students, because my students, all of my students as a teacher need English. My students are teachers and they're trying to achieve a C2 or a C1. Or I'm preparing students to study in other countries, and it's my responsibility to make sure that they get the grade on their international exam. So I've got to push like hell. So I always think to myself, how can I achieve these goals, and how can I do it creatively? But that's a I could give a 2-hour presentation just on that subject, I think. But you know, try to use a bit of the technology. Try to once again know your students, find the subjects that they like, try to fit the subjects into the level. If they're studying chemistry, use something to do with chemistry. At the moment, for example, I just finished teaching a group of 35 doctors in Ecuador online. I taught medical English. Now, I used medical text, very complex medical texts, and not general. And I pushed the hell out of them. I really pushed them for details. It's really knowing your students and adapting your materials to suit.
Okay, my friend, thank you so much for being here, for being part of this webinar. So I know that this is not the first time you come, so I gladly invite you as many times as you want to come. So thank you. Thanks, David. And I hope you have
always here when you need us.
And I hope you have a great Father's Day in company of your beloved daughter and wife. Thank you so much, teachers. Okay, we are going to continue with a round of webinars, and I will be sharing with you all the information that you require. Have a nice Sunday, everybody.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
you, everybody.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Mr. David. Thank you very much.
No, it was a great pleasure, everybody. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Thank you. Everybody.
More than a pleasure, dear colleagues.
Thank you.
Have a
Thanks
nice
for
day.
taking
Thank you,
the time.
everybody.
Have a happy
Good day.
Sunday. Bye.
Bye.
You and your family.